Hi, everybody. This is the 2006 AP Micro question for Monopoly, and I thought I'd start with this one because in this case, they've given us the graph, and it's kind of useful in a sense, and it's a pretty common AP question. This is probably one of their longer questions, but they're giving us the graph. And the way that this question is phrased, there's one art museum on the island of Watsonia. The museum's demand and cost curves are shown, and the museum is currently relying on the admission charge for some of its funding, and the directors are trying to figure out what price they're going to actually create for the admission. So there's a variety of different ways we would expect that a monopoly is going to create the price and quantity where they profit maximize, but in this case, because the museum directors are deciding, kind of note that there's a variety of different prices that they could do almost as like a price control and ignore profit maximizing, and if they did these various prices, we kind of have an idea of what the quantity demanded would be from the consumer end. Okay, so a lot of these questions are related to like if the price was this or if the price was that. So the very first question is what would the price be and the quantity, and they're interested in price and quantity if the museum maximizes its profit. Okay, so profit maximization is going to be where MR equals MC. The quantity would be Q2, and the price is going to be all the way up to P5 because the monopolist that produces profit maximizing quantity will price all the way up to the demand curve. Okay, so the correct answer for A is P5 and P1. P5 and Q2, my bad, P5 and Q2. The second question has to do with, well, what if the museum maximizes its total revenue, okay? From the quantity perspective, that's going to be easy. We know where that's marginal revenue is equal to 0, total revenue is at its peak. If it was interested in where it would maximize its total revenue, which does not mean that they would be maximizing their profits, but they can find out where total revenue would be the highest by looking where Q4 is, where marginal revenue is 0. And if the quantity is Q4, we can go all the way up to the demand curve and know that the equivalent price or the pair price would be P3. Okay, so Q4 and P3 would be the answer for A to I. The other question is the museum maximizes the sum of producer and consumer surplus. That's essentially code for allocatively efficient, right? Where would the allocatively efficient quantity be? If you're maximizing consumer and producer surplus, you have absolutely no deadweight loss. So that means a monopoly that's essentially behaving like a perfect competitor. We're going to go to that spot where marginal cost is equal to the price. In this case, my quantity is Q3 and my price is P4. Okay, so that's where the perfect competitor would be. The next question is, where is it that the museum maximizes its attendance as long as it breaks even? Okay, so what's the highest that I can go? Here the museum is making greater and greater numbers of tickets available to consumers, but it's not until quantity Q5 that we actually have breaking even, right? If at Q5 the price is P2, we know that the average total cost is equal to P2 at that quantity of Q5, okay? When the attendance is Q1, is the demand price elastic, inelastic, or unit elastic, okay? So if I go to kind of Q1 and I'm deciding if I produce this particular quantity, do I have elastic or inelastic? All I have to do is kind of go up to see, is the marginal revenue at this quantity a positive number? If it is, this is the elastic portion of the demand curve. In fact, I know everything kind of, in this section right here is going to be elastic. You're looking at this section right here of the demand curve kind of being elastic all the way up until the marginal cost being 0, okay? And then, let's just get rid of that red line. The next question we can eyeball is on the back of the free response page. So if you're kind of following along, assume the price is set at P2. So we're kind of assuming here that we're going to make the price P2. Okay, so like a, almost like a price ceiling of sorts, okay? So if we kind of make that price P2, okay, sorry, my line is a little stinky, but if we make the price P2, what will happen to the museum's accounting profit? So if the price is P2, right, the quantity is going to be Q5, okay, so Q5 and P2, and the firm will be breaking even. If I know that there are 0 economic profits, okay, the firm is breaking even, I know that there are positive accounting profits as long as there's implicit costs. And if I put that, likely accounting profits are positive as long as there are implicit costs, okay? And that's a given. The very next and last part of this question has to do with, let's see, this last part, so we'll just get rid of that red that's on there. The very last part of the question, assume that the government decides that the museum should charge no admission. Okay, so they're going to make it free. If they make it free, the price is going to be 0. If they make the price 0, the quantity demanded is Q7. Okay, so we know the museum's attendance would be Q7 under that circumstance. Is this allocatively efficient? We know it's not, because the quantity that maximized consumer and producer surplus was quantity Q3. So Q3 is a long way away from Q7. So just like firms can underproduce, and a monopoly generally underproduces if it's profit maximizing, and that's why we have deadweight loss, you can actually also have deadweight loss if you overproduce, okay? So by producing a quantity greater than Q3, you would be creating deadweight loss because you would not be allocatively efficient, right? Your price is not equal to your marginal cost, okay? I hope that helped a little bit. I can certainly put the sheet with like the correct answers on it for you to check, but I hope that helped explain in case you had a question. Let me know if you have a question about this problem.